That's awesome. Excellent.
This is the June 7th, 2017 meeting of the Dudley Cultural Council. We have 5 members here, so we've got a quorum. Denise Driscoll, co-chairman.
Marilyn Kramer's co-chair.
Joan Selfie, secretary.
Nancy Roy, treasurer.
Audrey Vesner, member.
Okay. Let me start by distributing what Michelle just brought me. Apparently this is a yearly thing that we have to do, and it's the sexual harassment policy that needs to be read. The directions are on the first page. Read it, sign the last page, then forward only the signature page to Personnel Board Clerk Joan Gardecki.
And we can leave them with...
So we can leave them with Michelle, I'm sure. Just pass these 2 down, please. Does anybody see Joanne?
Well, I see her, but not probably in the summer.
I'll mail it to her.
I joined the Dudley. Oh, you're talking about that, Joanne. I'm sorry.
Joanne Brinkner.
No, I don't know.
Okay. So I will take care of
So
getting
we
that.
drop this off because we can't do this right now, right?
I'm sorry?
We'll drop this off sometime to the board.
Yes.
I've
to-
read it before, so I'm
Yeah,
just signing
or you
it.
can mail
I
it
don't-
to her.
I'm
to
assuming
Joan.
it hasn't changed.
I want to ask them about my card. I don't think I got the card with the dates for my appointment.
Oh, that would be with Aura.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know I
Because-
had the card from before, but, unless I misplaced it.
Okay, does everybody have an agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so we've called the meeting to order. Minutes of the last 2 meetings in November, we actually, I believe they're combined into one meeting, right?
Yeah.
Into one set of minutes.
Yeah.
Has everybody seen them, read them?
Mm-hmm.
Any?
I thought they were, as usual, a great job, Joan. So
Yes.
official sounding, really good.
Thank you.
I second that.
Any corrections? Okay. Motion to approve the meeting minutes from November of 9th and 16th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the fall meet, the 2 separate meetings from the fall agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Nancy has given us a copy. Does everybody have it?
Okay, all grants for cycle 42-2 have been presented, submitted, and paid.
Wow, that's great.
No, this is 42.
Oh, 42. Oh,
42.
sorry.
Oh, I was wondering what that was.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
got
was
it.
last year.
Yeah, okay.
The balance in our account as of December 31st, 2016 was $151.22. We received the Massachusetts Cultural Council grant of $5,000 in January, and that increased our balance to $5,152.12. The following grants have been held, submitted, and paid. 43-8, How to Play the Ukulele, for $300. 43-3, Traditional American Folk Music and Dance, $400. 43-6, Hands-on History, The American Revolution, $300. 4310, How to Pastel Paint as Impressionists, Mulgaze Regatta, $485. 4311, Roger Tinknell Sings from Elvis to the Beatles, $450. 4319, Organic Gardening for Everyone, presented by John Root, $450. 4315, Art Through the Ages, Annual Art Fair at Shepherd Hill Regional High School, $500. 43-7, 1938 World's Fair, requested by Linda Braniff, $250. Those are just being submitted today, and so they have not been paid.
Nancy, could you just read the numbers again? You don't give me the titles of the grant. Just, I missed a couple. I just wanted to check them off.
They're all written down.
Okay. I'll believe you.
Take one of the others.
Okay.
Did you get a
No,
copy?
that-
Did I give you,
like this.
Marilyn, did I give you a copy of
Yes,
it?
I have these, but I didn't have the treasurer.
No, this one.
That's not the treasurer.
Copy of the treasurer's report.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. 43-5, Stephen Lewis, Human Rights, Labor Rights, an International Poster Exhibit for $40, which was held at the Pearl Crawford Library. He has not sent in his reimbursement form yet. The following grants have not been presented, or the reimbursement form has not been filed. 43-9, Tim Loftus for $125. 43-4, Scott Jameson, $500. 43-14, Gray Whisker Pickers for $300. 43-8, Revolution of 1774, Quest for Liberty, $400. And 43-17, Coombs for Shepherd Hill Marching Band, requested by Karen Wilk for $500. That's the one that I have not received a form for.
Plumes?
The one for the plumes.
They didn't even get them yet.
No.
I'm not sure whether they got them or not.
They
so
probably didn't. I bet he's planning them for the
Probably.
fall when the,
I figured they'd
When it
probably
picks up.
get them for the Memorial Day, but, well, anyway, I don't have that one, and, I don't have, Lewis. But the other four haven't been presented yet, so. I have $3,135 has been submitted, and $1,865 is encumbered for additional grants, for a total of $5,000, which is what we granted.
Nancy, go over it again. How long are you gonna let them run without having done their show or whatever before? They have 30 days?
They have a year.
We
They could wait the full
requested
year?
30 days, and then we found out we couldn't do
It's-
that. So
Yeah.
they can hold on to that for a year.
We checked with the Mass
Yeah, I remember
Council
that
last
now.
year,
You're right,
and
you're
they
right.
actually, it's in the documentation online. They have a year from the approval letter.
Okay.
And
Just follows it.
we are at $5.37 from November to May. And as of June 7th, our account balance is $2,021.19. And if we subtract the remaining grants of $1,865, that will leave us with $156.19 plus any further interest that was given.
Which is all, just about what we started with.
We started with, basically,
Okay,
you
good.
know.
Well, things look good with the legislature. Maybe we'll get more money this year. That'd be nice.
I think we're still gonna be, evenly funded, but.
Level funded now,
Okay,
probably.
any questions on the treasurer's report, Joan?
There's a 90 cents difference between the balance, the two balances, after the 5,000 was added. It's, instead of 5,151.22, it says 5,152.12 up top. Let's see. I was wondering, I think maybe it's a typo, but, see the
Oh,
one,
I see.
Maybe the interest, I do too.
151.22,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
It's a transposition of numbers, I
I
think.
think so.
It's a typo.
Yeah, 150,
Yeah, the one,
122 plus
the one,
5,000.
yeah.
So which is right then?
The one,
Probably the 151.
Do you want to just check that and then
I'll check it out.
send it
again.
back?
And it's probably a typo.
Okay.
Good pick, Joan. Okay.
That's what you have for a former math teacher on the board.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so then you just double check on that, and then you can just resend it. Everything else, it shouldn't impact.
Otherwise, it's a lot of work, and
Yeah.
beautifully done, but
Yes, thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome. I tried to be correct this time. My typing
Well, it's
skills aren't
good.
great.
It's good, it's good.
Okay,
I'm surprised about that Stephen Lewis, because he even,
Stephen, well, he just had his posters
yeah, but,
in April. And it was $40. So,
it just puzzles me, because I can't remember if it was, one of them wanted to know about, well, never mind.
Okay. Old business. Let me see, what did I have first?
You have the-
Okay, the annual report submitted to the town of Dudley. I left everybody a copy. That's the report that Marilyn and I put together at the end of last year. It just goes into the town report book, I believe. And
Yes,
it's a
it does.
report that we have to submit to the town of Dudley, so I just gave that
Every year.
everybody, and it just talks about the money that we had,
Oh.
basically just summarizing what we did and how we
And for
spent the money.
future reference, I think it's March is the deadline on it too. But we
March,
always get ours
okay.
in very early,
Right.
so
Right.
that's good. Michelle's
good.
always happy.
You
Okay.
just handed us this now, we didn't get it before, right?
You wouldn't, as a rule.
Right.
Denise is just sharing it with you.
I'm just,
That's, oh, very good.
okay, the next thing I had was the status of the annual report, and I know, Marilyn, when we spoke, you had questioned that, and I checked, it's done. It's, if you log into the MCC website with our password, there's a slot there that says annual report.
And up comes
It's
the
all,
blank.
it's all
That's-
finished.
That's the
We
thing we
did-
talk about with you, Nancy, that the
Right.
treasurer that has to.
Right, and Deb takes care of that.
And that's always done before we start anything,
Right.
like
Right.
around September 1st.
So in the fall sometime.
So I was just trying to anticipate.
So we'll have to be
Okay.
talking about that.
So this
Okay.
first report is from,
One goes to the town, and the second one is to
Yeah.
the Mass Cultural Council.
right, okay.
Okay, and that's done online. And it's, Nancy works with Deb Thibodeau.
They send it to Deb,
Submitted, yeah.
and Deb does it online, she signs it, and
It's good.
Yeah.
Because I remember last year we were kind of confused as the state was
we
saying you
had to
didn't
do it before.
Right.
Maybe we do them too early.
They'd send it to us. We had to do it.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. I just wanted to talk a little bit, the next agenda item, about the online process and what people thought of it. It's our first year doing online, and any thoughts on how we approached it here in Dudley, any suggestions for improvement? We know the online process is here to stay, so that's not a consideration, but in terms of your access to it, the ability to review them, the way that we printed, what we did is basically is Michelle printed one copy. We broke that out, we distributed them, assigned each person 2 or 3 to review, and then present at the voting meeting. You also had the ability to go online and review all of them, not just the ones that you were presenting, but if you wanted to take a look, or you should have taken a look at all of them beforehand, at least at a high level. And then we had one set printed at Staples for a cost of a little over $13. And those we used as a backup, and also I have all of those copies along with the letters so that we can put them in the archives. So those are basically clean copies. I did reach out to Joanne when she told me she was not going to be able to attend this meeting, and asked her for any thoughts that she might have on the process. And overall, let me see, I thought I had it with me. Overall, she thought it went well. She thought it was a little difficult, not difficult, but just because we're used to having, some people are more prone to having paper in their hands versus reading it online. She thought the process of dividing it up and sharing the reviews was good. She liked the worksheets that were provided when we're reviewing them, so that we can really look
And
for
this-
the points.
How many grant, was this her second grant process? One with the computer and one without? Because basically, we did all those things, except we did them longhand, the
Right.
hard way.
Been through
Right.
this twice.
One thing that she
Yeah.
was 15, so she would have,
So this might have been her
Yes.
first one. So she really.
No, she started at the same time
So
as
you've
I
done
did.
2?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
she's
she
done one
preferred,
with and
she
one with
preferred
it.
the online. And she liked the using the worksheets, which, like you said, we've had
We've
before.
always had worksheets,
And she had another,
which is a thing you hold in your hand,
right,
which is
right,
nice.
right. Any thoughts?
I think it would be nice if we had a copy of all of them.
And
So that
if we-
when you discuss that, you know, it may not be yours, you know, but you may have a different feeling from the one who's presenting it. So I think if you had a basic copy of it,
That's nice, except that would mean a lot of printing.
well, you could do that yourself at home.
Right.
I think if you,
So
you know,
you would-
wanted to.
you would well, if that's the case, yes, otherwise,
You
read
could,
it on.
you don't have to print the whole thing, you could just print that one page
Right.
that you may have an objection to, or you may favor.
I would
and
probably read them and jot out, do notes. I wouldn't print the whole thing.
I wouldn't print the whole thing, no.
No, because
but-
that's a lot. A lot
Yeah,
of paper.
I mean, there are several ways that we can do it individually. I mean, if we choose and everybody wants a copy of everything, the administrative funds are there, and that's what they're there for, to, you know, for anything that we feel we need administratively. But, or individually, for anybody, those of us who feel that we really want paper copies, we have an option, certainly, of printing them ourselves, or reviewing online and making notes, on each one, so, you know.
That would be up to the individual member, I would imagine, whichever you think you need, then you should do that, because it's available, it's there.
Right.
We've heard very little from although we did get a June heads up from them. But they've been quiet, and nobody said anything about how successful or unsuccessful it was. I think it was okay, had a few glitches, but it was okay.
I think more and more people are used to dealing online,
Oh,
too.
we have no choice. I mean, everything is what's your email address, and there's no
And
way
then-
around it.
Yeah, I mean, are there any suggestions going forward to do it differently? And Nancy, you mentioned, okay, if we want it, then, you know,
I
individually
think
we could
leave it
print
up to the individual. If
There's
the
a lot
individual
that's on
wants
the
to print things
chairperson,
out,
though.
you know, you might want to print a certain page and make notations, so
Right.
that when, you know, you're discussing it, you have the actual, you know, page right there.
That would be
rather
a
than just
per-
notes.
Right, and whether you want to
Personal
print it
preference.
and make the notations there, or just take a separate piece
But
of
it
paper.
is an
and
awful lot of
write your
work.
things.
It's much
Are
more
there-
work than we used to do,
Now,
that you're doing.
does
now,
anybody,
Denise. Oh, absolutely,
Do we-
absolutely much
Does
more
either
work.
one of you have a copy of all of them?
Yes, we had it
Yeah.
printed.
I think I need a copy too, in order to do my report of all of them. You know, for the distinct information that
So
we usually-
remind whoever's gonna
Yeah.
do it next time. And you know, maybe.
I mean, I guess I had to do it myself, I think. I have to admit, I don't remember what I did, but I did whatever was necessary, and it didn't seem like that big a deal, but.
It is a lot of work, Denise.
Yeah.
So much so
But
that you don't
see-
wanna do it again.
Well, I know. I'm in for the duration, for this year anyway. Next year, I should say. I like working online. Personally, for me, online is much better than a
Yeah.
whole bunch of paper in front of me. So I combine, you know, printing what I need to print and working, you know, online to review. I don't mind entering data into the system, so for me, that was not
that's
an
a problem
issue.
either. But printing it, running around, going to Staples, that gets a bit
Oh,
much,
well,
but.
that- yeah,
Well,
no, that
we're-
wasn't,
I don't remember exactly, I'd have to look back, but the prior copies we got were very comprehensive. They had a lot of detail. Did
All
they-
that's online, that's why they want you to
These
do it.
did?
well,
Yeah,
you
these
see, this is the
seem
other
like
thing
they
that.
didn't. I
This
don't
is
know.
the other thing that Joanne felt was a positive in this new process, was the uniformity, that all of the applications looked alike. In other words, you had all of the same information. And it wasn't that, because when they were filling them out by hand, sometimes they wouldn't fill something in, whereas this system doesn't allow them to continue if they haven't put in a vital piece of information. So that was a plus on the online process, and they're legible. Whereas sometimes you
That's
get
true.
information that's,
Yeah,
oh,
you
is
can
that a
read it.
zero or is that
Handwriting could
an
be,
8 or,
yeah,
so that it does make them more legible.
yeah.
And you're reviewing them, you've got all the same information to compare.
Once you get it all together, it works.
It
but
does,
it takes a while.
yeah. And I think it's just like any new
And it's-
process.
Yeah,
It's a matter of getting used to
year
it.
2 might be better.
Okay.
Well, the less we can print, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did everybody like the fact of taking a few and being responsible for just a few as opposed to having to do every one in detail?
Yes.
And then depending
I
on the
think
person
that's,
presenting?
Much more efficient.
Okay. Okay, so that's something that we could continue going forward. Any other thoughts or comments on that? I mean, we don't know, I'm assuming that the process is gonna stay the same,
Yeah, like I said, we haven't heard from you.
but we haven't really heard a lot from him yet. Okay, banner. Audrey, how did that go? How do you feel that went?
Well, with Nancy's help, it went well.
Okay.
Yeah, we managed to, it works really well when it goes from the Black Tavern to the Grange or,
Uh-huh.
next
Yeah,
door,
yeah.
whatever, or at the senior center. So, no, the only problem we had was I didn't get notice of the Shepherd Hill date, so they did not get the banner.
Oh, okay.
That was the only real issue.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because last year, they had called me, somebody from Shepherd Hill, from the Arts Department had called me and asked me for the banner. And I brought it up, and then I was thinking, well, gee, the art show is coming up, but nobody's called me, so then I didn't know if perhaps somebody else had brought it or whatever.
I had, my son is the assistant principal up there, and I asked him when they're going to have the art show, but that was right after the meeting. Would you please let me know? But of course, he forgot.
He had a few other things on his mind.
This is, this came with the reimbursement form. It's a picture showing a banner that they printed.
Which
It
one was
says,
that?
"Thank you, Charlton and Dudley Cultural Councils."
Oh, at the art show?
That's great.
This was hung at the art show. So
Was this
that's
from
the-
last year, or?
This is the present one that was just held in May.
Oh, I'd like to see
They
that.
So they
sent-
had it?
That's not our banner.
Oh,
That's one
okay.
they made
Oh,
up.
all right, okay.
And,
Oh.
I was glad to see that.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent.
that's perfect.
But they never gave us a date, and I think that's important. We need to get a date for all
Right.
of these, programs.
Events, yeah.
Because then we will know. It's not sometime in May, sometime in April.
There's one coming up at that Kathy at the Children's Library just gave somebody a date for, sometime in July. And I can't tell you which one it
Logo.
was. But I think when they apply for the when they
CC
apply for the
logo.
grant, the library says, yes, okay, we'll sponsor you for this grant. But they don't always, in November, know when it's gonna happen.
Right.
Right.
So, I don't know how you would.
Right, and I think if we make it too strict in terms of what we want to see on the application, I mean, it may be situations that they can't get a commitment until they get approval for funds.
Mhm.
So, do we need to be maybe a little more lenient?
I think
I mean,
either
especially
they-
if it's something for our convenience. I mean, why is it that we need the date? Is it so that we can, I mean, obviously, it's nice to have.
But we have to have recognition of the cultural council.
Correct, but that's their
So-
responsibility.
Have to?
They,
Have to?
Yes.
it's their responsibility
Their
to recognize
responsibility.
the cultural council.
So it's up to them.
recognize.
We don't have to
No,
have it.
No.
no, it's not our
But,
responsibility. It's
um,
their responsibility to
Acknowledge.
indicate that their funding came from the cultural council.
Correct.
Whether they do it in publicity, whether
Yeah.
they
So
do
it's
it on
not-
flyers, whether they do it, I
We
think.
don't have to run the banner around like we do. We do it because it's great.
Well, because we decided to
have it.
have the banner.
Right.
But I think if either the person who's doing the program or the place where the program is being held can notify us so that we can get it
So
there.
perhaps on the letter that you say, okay, you've gotten the grant, please keep in mind, add a paragraph, that please keep in mind, you need to let us know when it's happening so that we can get the banner to you.
Well, we had a program scheduled according to the, requests for March 24th down at the senior center.
Yeah.
So we brought it down, and she said, I don't have a program. She said the person never got back to me to confirm that he was coming.
So,
Well-
So she got in touch with that person, and he said he was sorry, he forgot to do that. And then they rescheduled. So that was supposed to be March 24th. It's now rescheduled for June 9th. So I made a list of all the places where, the programs are being held and,
Yeah.
where the banner needs to go. And so now, because I went down to bring it to where I mean, if I had not gone down, or Audrey had not gone down, we would not have known.
I think the important thing is to keep track of the banner, make sure you know where it is. And then do what you can to get it to them.
I mean, I think we have to be flexible enough to understand that things get changed, things get delayed, things get postponed for whether it's for weather,
Whatever,
whether it's for
'cause somebody
whatever
forgot.
reason. But certainly, I think our responsibility, yes, is to get them the banner if we can, but the obligation is on their part to recognize the funding came from the Dudley Cultural Council.
Right.
Whether it be in the form of publicity or in an introduction at the day of the program. There's nothing hard and fast that says there has to be a banner displayed,
Exactly.
as far as I know.
No, a recognition.
as far as I know.
Not a banner.
Yes.
But if we hadn't gone down and checked on it, that program would
Wouldn't
have
have
never
happened.
been presented. It
Well,
would not have happened.
that's, again,
The program would not have happened.
because the
No.
planter never got in touch with the senior center to let him know he had the money.
They would have had additional
Well, doesn't,
funds.
So
doesn't.
we would have had the funds.
No, wait a
right.
second, doesn't Margaret get, she gets it, unless this person was applying separately and didn't have approval from the
He applied
senior
separately.
center.
He applied separately.
Who was that?
Tim Loftus, the Irish music and dancer. He's going to be at the senior center on Friday after they have their meal.
So the original application was from him, not
Yeah,
from Margaret?
and it's if,
Yes.
I don't know, I guess it's the way I did my report, I don't mention that it was requested by her.
No.
As I did in the number 10. So it was only requested, in my report, I tell who requested it,
And so what did it say for Loftus?
just him. It doesn't say anything about, but at the senior center. But I don't have that it was requested by Margaret, it was requested by him.
Well, whoever is the requester is the one that should be getting the grant money.
Correct.
Right.
So if it's Loftus, it should be Loftus who's requesting it, not
Yeah.
Margaret.
In this case, he dropped the ball.
She
and
was
he didn't.
providing the venue.
Right.
So he must have checked it out with her, said, do you want the program? She said yes, and then get in touch with me, and then he didn't. Because these people do 30 towns.
Right.
And that's what happens, they get lost in the
Okay, so I
shuffle.
think we've gotten off track a little bit, so back to the banner. Audrey, we thank you for being in charge of that. It sounds like, as far as you're concerned, it worked fairly well.
Like I said, with
especially
Nancy's
Nancy.
help.
Okay, great.
She guided.
So would you be willing to continue doing that
I'll continue,
for the next
yes.
year?
Will we continue?
No help next year.
No help next year?
Thank you.
Thanks. I think I can handle it. Maybe.
Thank you, Audrey.
You're welcome.
Nancy.
You're welcome.
Okay. Status of members. I don't know if everybody has their sheet from last year.
I do.
I will update it. I think everybody had one of these, but I will redo it for this current year. We have Joanne, whose end date is June of next year. I just renewed after 3 years. My end date is this June, and I've renewed for another 3 years. Marilyn, end date is June of this year, and this is her 6th year in this current term.
Yeah.
So she'll be leaving us for a year, unless you'd like to stay as an advisory member.
Do I have to announce it right now?
No, I don't think you do. It's an open meeting. You
I know, I
can
can come
attend
anytime.
anytime you'd like. And
I'm
believe
not
me, I know
sure.
your phone number.
I'm sure I will probably peek in,
Okay.
but I still have to take a year off. You can't
Yes,
vote.
yes,
So it's,
correct. You can't vote.
We may go to you for advice,
oh,
though.
I doubt it. You do
That's
vote.
what I told her. I know her. I've got her phone number. Okay, Audrey, your term is another year through next June. Nancy, through next June.
So that's 3 definites for
Yep.
next year that are gonna be gone.
And Rose, Rose is not here today, but Rose's term ends
With me,
with you. Is this her 6th year?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Rose will be taking a year off. And Joan, your term ends in 2019,
God, that seems like a long time ago.
but it's
It
not,
goes by
considering we're
so
going
fast.
into fiscal year 18. Okay, the good news, we have two members that are leaving, Rose and Marilyn, but the good news is we have 2 new members that are on the agenda for appointment at the next selectmen's meeting, at the selectmen's meeting on June 19th. And former members Mary Kunkel and Ginny Donato have both sent in their letters.
So that's good. So then
So-
you're back to full.
I
So
also
it brings
talked to
back-
Paula Clark, and she said she's interested. Whether she had sent in a letter or not, I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I knew I was telling Denise you had somebody else that you had talked to. But I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, as of the last time I spoke with Michelle, she had not received it, but that could have been a couple weeks ago.
And she might have changed her name.
True. So it sounds like we'll be all set. Joan, I assume you'll continue on as our secretary?
Yeah.
We appreciate that. Good job. Nancy, as treasurer?
Yes.
Audrey with the banner.
Yes, I'll be the banner.
Squared away.
I will continue on in my position, and hopefully, between Joanne, Ginny, and Mary, we can get a co-chair to fill in for the year, so
That'll be good.
we'll talk about that at the next meeting,
Excellent.
okay? So that sounds like we're all set there. New members I just mentioned. New business, we do have, everybody saw this picture that did that come with this? Is
No,
this
it
the
came
thank
with
you
their
note?
whole packet. They sent me a copy
Okay.
of all the bills they paid me.
This is a thank you note from the Shepherd Hill Art Department. Dudley Cultural Council, thank you for your generous donation to this year's district art show. Appreciate your support in helping us to create a successful art show. Shepherd Hill Art Department. Excellent.
I'd like to see what it looked like. Oh, how nice.
Maybe I've got this shit.
Nancy, I'm gonna put the picture in here.
Did it give anybody credit for that picture in the back of it, or
I'm sorry?
is there any credit for whose picture that is?
Oh,
took it?
In the
who
back.
took it? Oh, no. Oh, this picture you're talking
Oh,
about. Okay.
it's a photo?
Shelby Jurinsky, 2017, Jurinsky.
Must be a student.
Okay, Nancy, do you mind if I keep this in here? The picture,
No, go ahead.
is that related to this art show?
You're getting more too, so.
What, okay, that's a question that I don't know. What happens, who keeps all this stuff and where does it go?
Nowhere.
How about if it goes with the secretary? Okay,
Under new business, though, I have a question that
Okay.
I think we should check on, so let me know when you're ready. I'll be quick.
okay. Go ahead.
I think we should check with the state, or somebody should check with the state, not we, because I'll be done with this, but is it anywhere written, because I've never seen it, that all this stuff has to be archived?
That was my next question. Does that-
Because, I mean, we have stuff in 2 rooms, file cabinets. One of them we can't even open because nobody has the key. And then we have a new file cabinet we're starting. Especially with all this online business,
Yeah.
the state might not require us to, maybe we keep for 5 years, but certainly I don't see the need to keep all this stuff.
Okay,
I really don't.
on that same note, my question was the same. What is it that actually has to be archived, and how long do we have to keep it? So I started this box only because this is what the Staples copies came in, and it was nice and convenient. And in here, this is what I plan to put in the file cabinet. I have the 14 printed application grants with their letters. We probably don't need the grants, we probably just need the letters, because the grants are online. We have 5 denied grants with the letters, the meeting minutes from fiscal year 17, the treasurer's reports from fiscal year 17, the annual Mass Cultural Council report, and the annual town report. The only thing that I think I need to add to this is the community survey that we did, because that was done during fiscal year 17. And I don't think we need the results, but perhaps just a tabulation of the results. But I don't have that with me.
Isn't that in one of the minutes, though? I think it
It may
is.
be.
So you might not even need to do that.
I'll have to check on that, just so that
But-
we have, no, because that's something that's required of us to do every 3 years, is
I
the
think-
survey.
I think in the past, we kept
With the grant applications.
a copy of the grants.
Okay, well, I have them right there. But I will take the responsibility of following up with the Mass Council
And see
on
what
that
they
issue,
say on
and see
that.
what they say about that.
Because it'll be in the cloud now, so we don't have to worry. We can always get
Correct.
it, whatever that is.
Somewhere up there, pull it down.
It's kind of weird. to tell you the
Okay.
truth.
The other new business that I didn't add to the agenda, but that I'd like to bring up, is the fact that I believe, as in the past, usually the funding, the application cycle runs from September 1st to October 15th or thereabouts, depending if it's a weekend day. Prior to the start of the application process, I believe our responsibility will be to review our current, what's called priorities, council priorities, local priorities, which are those kind of like little rules and criteria that we put in,
That are on the website.
that are on the website for people to look at before they apply. Reviewing those will be on the agenda for the next meeting. So I thought we'd have a meeting in September, but I think we're gonna have to have the meeting sometime in August,
Because
so that we can finalize those priorities and get them loaded into the system before September 1st.
We did have a meeting last August.
We did in August last year. As opposed to September. If we have it in August, then we don't need one in September.
Right.
So think about, between now and the next meeting, review those current priorities that are on the website, our local ones, and see if there's anything based on the questions that we might have had, or the reviews, or the applications that we looked at the last year. Is there anything that we want to add? And the one that comes to mind for me that we may want to think about is, does the venue have to be in Dudley? Because we did run into one last year where they wanted, where the venue was going to be outside of Dudley, even though it's, if we're funding it,
Was that in Charlton?
it was.
Yeah, it was the Worcester Chamber Music
And
Society.
the problem with that was, we felt that there was not enough transportation. It's not like we have, like some towns have a council on aging bus, that they can transport their people, but we felt that it wouldn't reach enough of our members, of our residents, of our community to
So
make
you
it
think
worthwhile.
that needs to be,
So I don't know whether it
specific-
needs to be specified or not. But anyway, it's just as an example of things to think about.
If you're going to ask what we need to keep, could you also ask that?
Ask what?
Ask
the venue?
If it has, the venue
No,
has to be.
that's
in-
no, I
that-
think it's up to the
That's it.
individual
That one's up to an
councils.
individual, because I believe we spoke to somebody about that last year.
It's up to us whether
It's up
we
to
want to
us.
do it.
I should have paid more attention, but they did hold a concert at Overlook, and I believe
Yes, they
there
were looking for funding from Charlton as well as
and I
Dudley.
believe there were 2 towns
There was more
mentioned.
than, you're right.
Yeah.
I believe there were several other towns they had indicated that they were
2,
seeking
yeah.
funding from.
Well, in that case, well, it does say on the
That's one of the questions on the application,
you know, do you have, are you applying to other towns?
other councils, right? Yes.
But if we,
Which is a good thing.
but if we know that they are applying and they're looking to get people from all those towns to the town that has the venue,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
I think it's-
specifically, we don't have a transportation to take people there. I don't think you should overkill it, because if you build too many things into it, then it's not simple anymore.
Right.
I think you should keep it as simple as possible. I wouldn't ask for trouble, but that's up to you guys.
Right, because you certainly want the flexibility
to be able to
be
say,
able to approve something at another
once you
venue if
say
we felt
no-
that it was worthwhile.
once you say no, you're stuck.
Right.
If you leave it alone and don't make a federal case out of it, I think you're better off,
Right.
but.
And they would have to do the advertising. If it were something
They always have to do
Yeah,
the
they do, they're
advertising.
held
supposed
in
to.
Charlton, they would have to notify, Dudley and Southbridge and Sturbridge, or, whatever, surrounding towns.
However they choose to advertise their event.
And nobody ever checks on them, not really. I mean, it's
No, but
nice
I
if you
think
see
if-
it, but
If people in Dudley didn't know about it, and had they known about it, they might have attended.
gone.
Yeah, it's,
That's true.
But then it would be up to them to do that advertising, not up to us.
it's the person who's receiving the grant's responsibility to publish and advertise.
I believe it was advertised,
I'm sure it was.
yeah.
I see most of those programs advertised in the Yankee Shopper or that weekly advertiser or the Webster Times. And I think that's what most of them do, is use the local newspapers.
Even Telegram,
Yes, television.
Worcester Chamber Music Society is used to that.
Any other new business?
I'm good. Anybody else got anything? These are
Okay.
all notes that we have to decide what we're gonna do with. Oh, can they go for the minutes?
Okay, we need to schedule our next meeting. And it sounds like we should do it in August so that we can finalize the council priorities. That'd probably be the major agenda item. And any updates on anything we've received. And everybody on the council receives the communication now from the state. So whereas in the past it was limited, but you all see it, so.
Yes.
You can review it as it comes in and then be prepared to.
So you're not gonna do Tuesday, which you know. If Wednesday's
yeah.
a good day, you just keep it at Wednesday.
Wednesday, does that work for everybody?
For now.
For now, anyway. Okay. So,
Except August 16th.
Okay.
August 16th is not good.
Not good.
August 23rd is not good.
Check this, it's not gonna be Wednesday.
Well, that whole week I'm gone.
Let me see if I have anything that month.
Well, last year we met on August 9th.
No problem.
Oh, what about August? I don't want to do it too early in case we haven't gotten information from the council.
This is part of that. When do you do your notification to the papers to,
Right, because you have to do a press release.
so when do you do that? No.
I think the forms have to be done, can't be done before September 1st, I believe.
Right.
So.
How much notice do you have to give to
Oh,
like
they're
the?
pretty good. They're very quick once I
Okay.
give it.
Okay, so it's just
But
an
but
email
you do
kind of
have to,
thing.
you know,
So when do you usually do it? The middle of August?
yeah, I guess.
I think those
I
should
don't
be in the
remember.
works before you guys
I'd
get
have to
rolling.
look on my, see if I could find it here in my emails.
But it doesn't have to be a specific date. How about a week? There's 4 weeks in the month. Well, almost 5.
It's 5 Wednesdays.
That's why
That's just to notify
Right.
that, but
That the.
how is that connected to our meeting?
Well, the thing is her press release is pretty generic. It's like.
Last year, it had to be, it was very specific because.
Because of the online
you know,
process.
The new
Right.
procedures.
Right.
And nobody complained about it, right?
No.
That, any of these,
I give them a
So,
month.
Oh, no.
as long as we get from the state the official start date of opening up the process, that's what you need to do your press release.
yeah, and I believe, last year, we waited till after you attended the online
Right.
class. Yeah.
Right, because we weren't quite sure what was happening.
Yeah. So then we needed to talk
Right.
about it.
Okay. Well,
Last year it was August 11th
that you,
that we met,
okay.
which was a Thursday, I guess.
So what about the 10th then?
I have no problem.
There's Tuesdays and
Oh, ninth is
Thursdays I
not
can't
The
do.
only time I have a meeting,
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I can't do.
Tuesday, oh, I'm sorry, Tuesday and Thursday?
Right.
Okay.
the third and fourth are out for me, but otherwise,
Okay.
I have
Tuesday
nothing,
and
I'm
Thursday.
free all month, so.
And Mary is Monday and Tuesday. So that leaves Wednesdays
And Fridays.
and Fridays. Okay, so, well, Wednesday the 9th.
Do the 9th.
Sounds good.
At 9 o'clock, does that work for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
It's my sister's birthday.
Okay, Wednesday, August 9th. And I'll check with Mary and Jenny, and if for some reason there's a major issue on that date, because it is vacation season, I'll get in touch with everybody by email.
For the August meeting, the date of the week doesn't matter, but for the school year,
Oh, the
Tuesdays
school-
and
oh,
Thursdays,
okay.
I can't.
Okay.
Oh.
Any other business? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Favor?
Second.
Okay, then.